Hello everyone, Siege Link here, back with the next part of my Counter-Strike Shanghai Major Pickems. So in the elimination stage, I got 6 correct. I got both 0-3s correct, both 3-0s incorrect, but 4 of the qualifying teams that were going to go 3-1 and 3-2 correct. So I got that Pickem correct. Now we're on to the top 8, the playoffs. We've got Mongols versus Maus, Team Spirit against Liquid, G2 against Heroic, and Vitality FaZe Clan. I've done some kind of prep for this video, and I gotta be honest, this might be a long video because I'm gonna kind of go on, I wouldn't say a rant, but I have a lot of opinions that I think a lot of people are gonna either heavily agree with or heavily disagree with. And we won't really know until we see the playoffs. Like, this could really go one way or the other in terms of the teams that other people are putting compared to the teams I'm putting, because where people are kind of on two separate sides, at least in regards to one team. So I'm going to start off with FaZe versus Vitality. I gotta be honest, FaZe performed basically exactly how I expected them to this tournament, and they barely made it 3-2. They beat Wildcard comfortably, but I still think that they comfortably lose to the top 5 teams. Like against G2, Vitality, Navi, I still think that FaZe Clan are going to lose to those teams, especially in the playoffs. I think that Vitality is arguably they're one of, if not the favorite to win the whole thing. So, I mean, if we're talking about FaZe versus Vitality, a team that's been going a lot higher compared to a team that's been going a lot lower, I think Vitality is just, their ceiling's a lot, not only is it higher than FaZe's right now, but I think they're closer to their ceiling, where FaZe Clan nowadays is kind of closer to their floor. So I think Vitality comfortably win that. That's probably the one I'm most confident with, personally. Then G2 Heroic. G2, I think, comfortably wins that. G2 and Vitality are teams that, like, when they are playing at their peak, it is near impossible to beat them. And G2 have come to this major at their peak. They might choke here and there, but they're playing very, very close to the absolute ceiling of theirs. So, in my opinion, Heroic, they've been decent here and there, but they barely lost to Mongols and then barely lost to Navi. So even against some of the top teams, they're going to be very, very close. So Heroic might be a bit of a surprise upset. We could potentially see it happen. But against G2, it's a team that I think came into this major, and they're very, very strong. So I would be surprised to see Heroic upset there. Spirit versus Liquid, I gotta be honest, this one really could go either way. I think a lot of people are putting Spirit versus Liquid, but I gotta be honest. Like, did you see Spirit in this major? Like, I don't know how, but like I had them going 3-0 because I mentioned this before. I think that Spirit does better in the group stages, but in the playoffs, Spirit does a little bit worse. And they ended up losing round 1 in humiliating fashion to Furia. Like, that game should not have been that one-sided. And if it was going to be that one-sided, it should have been for Spirit, not against Spirit. So from that point on, they kind of got better and better. They utterly humiliated Navi. I'm actually kind of glad Navi didn't make it, because they didn't deserve to make it after how badly they lost to Spirit. Like, let's be honest. Liquid, I think that they're a team known for choking, not as much as Furia nowadays, but they have a lot of core strength. But I think their strengths are similar to Spirit's strengths, and I think Spirit's ceiling is just a little bit higher than Liquid, so I do think that Spirit will win, but do not sleep on Liquid winning that game. Just saying. Especially if we see Spirit choke in the playoffs. Mongols, Maus. I want to emphasize this. Mongols are a team that everyone is divided on right now. I have seen people put Maus winning. I have also seen people put Mongols winning the whole thing. As of right now, at least when it comes to Maus, I do easily think that Mongols win it, and let me explain. Maus this tournament has not really been fantastic. They've been basically FaZe Clan level. They've been maybe slightly above FaZe. Like, they're a strong team, but when you look at their overall strength, they're not doing as good as they were around the time of the last major, and especially after that major. Like, right after the last major, they dominated, like, every tournament. Maus is nowhere close to where they used to be. I do still think they're a strong team, but I think that right now, when you look at Mongols, they've yet to lose a series, and they came from the opening stage. They are 6-0 right now. And even Like, sure, you can argue maybe they haven't really played that many super strong teams. They faced Heroic, which have gotten to the quarterfinals. They beat G2 in a best of one. I know what you're thinking. It was the best of one, right? When you look at Mongo's strengths that game, none of it screams to me like, oh, that's just Inferno being Inferno. They had better aim than G2 in that map. They had better teamwork, in my opinion, and they even had some solid clutches. Like, like a 3K with a Tech 9 with a one tap, one bullet to finish it off. I know they're pushing through a smoke, but still. Like, I have yet to see Mongols make a huge choke in this entire tournament. The biggest choke I've seen them make was in that G2 game, and there was a smoke on apps, and they kind of got body blocked by each other, and they couldn't get out because of it. That's the biggest thing I've seen them mess up. I've seen Spirit choke bigger. I've seen Mouse choke bigger. I've seen all of these teams choke bigger than that. So Mongols, not only do like, we know at least where the ceilings of like G2 and Vitality are, and we know their ceilings are very high. We don't even know where Mongols' ceiling is because we have never ever seen Mongols play this good. And I know that people might say like, well, in the playoffs they might do a lot worse. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm not. Anyone who watched my last video knows I'm not going to put Mongols losing because of that, because that was my logic for putting Spirit 3-0, and they lost the first round of Spirit. So I think that Mongols beat Maus because right now, not only are Mongols off and running, Maus have underperformed quite heavily right now, in my opinion. They are like barely one step ahead of FaZe Clan. So I do not think Maus is going to do better in the playoffs. I think if anything, they're going to do worse. So now we've got G2 Vitality in the semis versus Spirit and Mongols. I'm going to start off G2 Vitality. This one, there is no right on. There is simply no right answer. These two teams, with Na'Vi being eliminated, are the two favorites to win the whole tournament, plain and simple. Most people I have seen have put G2 Vitality or Mongols winning this whole tournament. So, in my opinion, versus each other, like, again, they're both playing either at their ceiling or very close to their ceiling. And both these teams at their ceiling against each other, that's a battle for the ages. Like, oh my gosh. Like, this one, I might literally, like, you could literally just grab a coin and flip it and then pick your team off of that, because this one is going to be so close. So personally, because it's so close, I'm going to let my bias play a role here. I'm going to pick the team that I actually personally want to win the whole major, and that is G2. I love m0NESY. I do think that ZywOo is a slightly better opper. Nico has been doing very well. Malbs has been a very surprise one. He's been an X Factor. And Snax, I think, is a really great team leader. He might not necessarily be the best in-game leader compared to Apex, but I do think that Snax is really good at calling. Maybe not as good as Kerrigan or Apex or Alexi B, which not so much nowadays, or at least not so much in this major. But I do think that G2, when you match them up against Vitality, I personally just think that Vitality are slightly more likely to choke, especially in the playoffs, compared to G2. I do think that G2 can choke, but again, there really is no right or wrong between these two teams. You could really put either one. Mongols, Spirit. This one is tough for me, because as much as I want to immediately throw Mongols going through, I do actually think that Spirit, like I said, they started off this tournament weak, but they've gotten stronger and stronger. So it would not be surprising for me to put Spirit there, but I will put Mongols going to the finals. Because yes, they're in the playoffs, and yes, they've not been at the top for a while, but we've seen them play throughout this tournament, and we still see no ceiling in sight. Yes, Spirit has been getting better over time, but so have Mongols. They hit the ground running, and they're just getting faster and faster. So, we're gonna, I mean, let me put it this way. These are the two teams that, like, you know, people might say these two are the favorites, but these two are the ones with all the momentum. It's like, do you have the two best teams throughout the year, or do you have the two guys with all the momentum in this tournament? Like, if Mongols lose, it's probably going to be here, or it's going to be in the finals. But I do think that both these teams basically Mongols have been getting a lot faster, and Spirit's been getting faster, but Mongols started off strong, whereas Spirit kind of tripped, then got up, and then started sprinting fast. So for that reason, I think Mongols go through. This is a bit of a tough one for me. In my opinion, whether Mongols face G2 or Vitality, this is kind of weird to say, but Mongols winning is actually more of a safe pick because, again, it's a complete 50-50 on which team wins here, but I'm pretty confident that Mongols will beat Maus and they'll beat Spirit because we have seen those teams choke quite a bit this tournament. Or we've seen Spirit choke quite a bit, and we've seen Maus just not playing up to the level we expect Maus to. Now, yes, that can change in the playoffs, but remains to be seen. My bias says to put G2 going through because I love G2, but if Vitality go through, I can't get this pick'em. So the safe play would be to put Mongols. The other thing is, they face each other in the best of one. It was close at the end of the day, but Mongols did do better overall. This is another thing I want to point out about Mongols. They are a team that, compared to the rest of these teams, I think does better under pressure. Even when the scoreline is bad, or even when they make some mistakes, they never let it affect them. Vitality, Spirit, G2, FaZe, especially Liquid, I have seen all of these teams, except for Mongols, get in their head on, like, oh, that was really bad, we should have won that, oh no, what do we do now? I have yet to see that from Mongols at all. So, many people might call me crazy, but I have seen other people do this. I am putting Mongols winning this whole thing. I want to emphasize this. I don't necessarily think this is going to happen. I think at best against G2 and Vitality, it's going to be maybe a 50-50. Maybe Mongols are slightly favored. Maybe G2 or Vitality are slightly favored. But again, this one is a 50-50. Like, if I put, like, this, right? If I put this, which is what I actually want to happen, because G2 is personally my favorite team right now. If Vitality win, I can't get this pick'em anymore. But I can if I do this. I'm more confident in Mongols beating Spirit because of that choke versus Furia than I am of either of these. Because again, it's impossible to make that pick'em. It's really a 50-50. So this one is mostly just bias, but this one is kind of more of a safe pick. I do think that G2 and Vitality can beat Mongols, but I gotta be honest, I think it's going to be close. So these are my final pick'ems. I want to emphasize this. The bottom side of the bracket, at least here, is probably where I'm most confident. This one is going to be a surprise, and this one, I'm pretty confident my pick'em here, but I will say, if Mongols are going to lose anywhere, it's probably going to be against either Maus, or it's going to be against in the finals. Like, this right here, I'm confident in it, but that's because I'm confident in them performing at this level. They've proven themselves to be in the playoffs. Like, they didn't scrape their way by in the slightest. So, my point is, basically, if they're going to crumble in the playoffs, like, the pressure's going to get to them, which we've yet to see, it's going to happen in the first round. If it doesn't happen in the first round and they, like, 2-0 Maus, they're the favorite. Like, let's be honest. Because we have yet to see them choke, and we have seen G2 and Vitality choke before. Not necessarily in this tournament that much, but we have seen them choke. So, this is going to be my pick'em. I might swap this last second because, again, I'm biased and I want G2 to win, but this is the more safe play in my opinion. And funnily enough, this is one pick away from Floms, who has this, and Thorin is pretty far off. He feels very strong that Mongols are going to lose round one, that Mongols are going to crumble in the playoffs, and I do think that that is a possibility, but only time will tell. Again, it's bad to be a results-based thinker. You shouldn't be like, oh, this happened, therefore you were wrong here, you were wrong here. No one knows for certain what's going to happen. That's the good thing about pick'ems. It's sports betting. You never know for certain what's going to happen. So, in my opinion, this is what things can happen. I want this to happen. I want this to happen, but this is what I think is going to happen. Because I think that this can happen, or this could happen. Those three teams right now I think are the favorites to win. And because this is such a coin flip, I am putting Mongols winning it as sort of the more safe option, because this way, if Vitality win, I can still get a Pickem there. So as much as I want G2 to win, if G2 and Mongols are facing each other, I'm happy either way. Either I get a Pickem right, or my favorite team wins the major. So, hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.